Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova, Gmar Tov. I want to talk to you today about Team Zaidi. Our family had these t-shirts made up to support my dad as he's been going through chemotherapy treatments for the past 6 months. And just this past week, he finished his treatments, and please God, we'll hear good news in a few weeks at the scans. But we have been standing with my dad to let him know that he's not alone in this process and that he has a team to support him behind him. And that team is filled with all of the people that have been saying Tehillim and prayers on his behalf. Thank you. And all the doctors and the nurses and the PAs and everybody else that has worked so hard on his behalf. And our Mishnah group each morning that learns for his refuah shlema. And all of us wearing our Team Zaidi shirts each time he goes in for his chemo treatments. And this past week, when my dad finished, the nurses said, "You can't walk out of here until you ring the bell." There's a bell in the cancer center, treatment center. And he rang that bell to signal, please God, the end of his chemo treatments. So I'm thinking about my father today and thinking about his favorite prayer on Yom Kippur, when we invite Murray to join us for the Chag. At least that's what he likes to say. Murray Kohen, the prayer of Mar'eh Kohen, when we see the appearance of the Kohen coming out of the Kodesh Kodashim, having finished his prayers. What a joyous moment, just the incredible joy of the people, the glow of the Kohen. And in the prayer that we sing, Emet man nehtar ve'haya Kohen gadol, we sing the song, we go through a list of things that we see when we see the Kohen. And one of the items that's mentioned on this list in the Sephardi Nusach is Kipa'amone zahav b'shulei hami'il. We see the bells that were on the me'il, the coat, the garment of the Kohen. Along the hem were these little pomegranates and bells that would jingle as the Kohen walked. And the rabbis ask, why did the Kohen have to wear bells? And there are many answers given. But the answer that's sitting on my heart today is that when the Kohen walked, he would hear the bells jingle. And there were 36 bells, say the rabbis, around his hem, or perhaps 36 on one side and 36 on the other. And when I hear the number 36, I think of the concept in Jewish tradition of the Lamed Vav Tzadikim, the 36 hidden righteous souls amongst Israel. And so when the Kohen walks, he's not walking alone. He's thinking of the 36. The quiet individuals. He's not the only holy man on the mountain. There are many, many others that are praying today, that are in this with him, that are in this together. And not just the 36. The 36 are just a representative that we are all holy. They represent all of Israel. And so when the Kohen walks, he's walking with all of the people. He goes into that Kodesh Kodashim, it would seem alone, but he's not alone. He's part of a team. And the people are praying on his behalf. And when he emerges to cheers because they are with him as one team. During this pandemic, we have almost erased the individual. We're never alone. We're always with someone when you're in a family. And even if you are alone, if you're a single individual, you recognize that you matter in the larger community. If every person doesn't observe the social distancing guidelines, the mask, the this, if we don't work together as a team, even if that means staying home alone, then we cannot overcome the challenges of our time. We are a team and we operate as a team. There was a moment on Rosh Hashanah which broke me down, where we had been davening in our tent outdoors. But for one moment, we wanted to bring the children to shul. And so when we brought out the shofar, we had arranged small pods of youth groups, and we brought them around the parking lot, distant from the minyan, the shofar in the middle. And we blew that shofar with the kids and parents and families and individuals all around. It was a touching moment where we felt the sense of Keilah that we've been missing for so many months. This was the first time the children were back in shul. It was our larger team, albeit not everyone, but our larger team coming together, recognizing that we're in this together. And I think about the children in a moment, the Jewish tradition, when the children gathered around Yaakov, his children. And Yaakov wanted to bless them, but he wasn't sure that they were worthy, perhaps. And the rabbis say in that moment, the Shema prayer was born. As the children cried out, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear us, O Israel, their father's namesake. We are believers. We are people of faith. And Yaakov, says the rabbis, responded, Baruch Shem Kivod, Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. This is how we will end Yom Kippur, with recognizing the moment of intergenerations coming together, the sense of the larger team, that we're in this together. And I remember the moment just before Yaakov becomes Israel. How does he get to this place where he can build this team, build this family, become Israel, and we become Bnei Yisrael? The Kotzker Rebbe says, we learn it from the Pasuk, when Yaakov leaves home and he falls asleep and he dreams of the ladder. And the Pasuk says, Vayaketz Yaakov mishnato, he wakes up, boom, wakes up. Vayomer, Achen, yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh, v'anochi lo yadati. God is in this place. Va'anochi, and I, lo yadati, I didn't know. The Kotzker Rebbe says, double language. Why is he saying it double language? I, va'anochi, lo yadati. I didn't know. I didn't know. And the Kotzker says, it's because Yaakov had to mature and get to a place where it wasn't all about I. It was about the greater I. It was about recognizing that we're all part of a greater I. And once he could get past the I didn't know, then he could see something greater than himself. And so this is what we are striving for on Yom Kippur, coming to that final Shema Yisrael, getting past just the I, seeing ourselves part of the team, recognizing that we have been a part of Team Zaidi, but that we are part of Team Klal Yisrael, part of Team Humanity, part of celebrating with Mare Kohen, and celebrating all of us, emerging from this time, not only from the Kodesh Kodashim, but into Kodesh Kodashim. We should have a holy, beautiful, sweet year ahead. Emet man neheta, ve'haya kohen gadol. Emet man neheta, haya kohen gadol. B'tzeito, מבית קודשי הקדושים, בשלום, בלי פגע. Wishing you shalom.